The first session of the afternoon program today is by Dr. Madhavi Narsale. Dr. Madhavi Narsale is the assistant professor at the Department of Sanskrit, Pune University. She has published articles, about 25 of them. She has recently edited a book on emerging trends in Sanskrit literature. She is the head of the Center of Multidisciplinary Research in Language and Literature, member of the Syllabus Committee of AICTE, Delhi, for drafting a syllabus on culture, member of the Committee of the Directorate of Languages, Government of Maharashtra, for preparing a dictionary on law and justice in Marathi. Her specializations are Veda and mythology. Dr. Madhavi Narsale.
Thank you, sir, for such a kind introduction. At the outset, the subject of my paper is on the Shatapatha Brahmana 13.5.4 1 to 28. At the outset, let me thank Honorable Dr. Kannan and Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan for inviting me to the Vedasamvada and allowing me to be a part of this divine experience. It is said that Veda is fivefold, namely Vidhi, Mantra, Namadheya, Nishedha and Arthavada. That portion which is praise for the performance of a ritual or condemnation of the non-performance of the ritual is regarded as Arthavada. This portion which praises the performance of different Ashwamedhas and indicates the fruit of the performance of the same. Arthavada is classified as Gunavada, Anuvada and Bhutarthavada. As per the classification, the portion of the Shatapatha Brahmana which we will be discussing here is Bhutarthavada. Here, the Arthavada portion mentions of some fact, the verifiability of which is not possible due to the constraints of the present times. Superficially, Arthavada portions appear to be meaningless, for they appear to be mere enumeration or enlisting of data. The portion taken up for study would appear to be tedious enlisting of kings performing the Ashwamedha sacrifice, but in the present context, this is useful as it provides us with accounts through which some historical fact could be deduced through the study of multiple texts. The paper is divided into three parts. Firstly, it will discuss the sacro-political power enjoyed by the king in juxtaposition with the institution of sacrifice. Secondly, it will discuss the ritual of Ashwamedha and enumerate the kings performing this sacrifice. And lastly, it will throw light on the role of intertextuality in the study of Vedic literature. Vedic texts regard the king as a functional link between the cosmic order, that is Rita, and the society. In order to understand the ancient social and political theory, it is essential to study the relationship between the king, the sacrificing priest, and the sacrificial ritual. As a part of kingly duties, it was expected that the king should uphold the omnipotent cosmic or divine law, that is Rita, and maintain the all-powerful sense of duty, that is Dharma. In the Rigveda 10.173, the poet prays to gods to make the king's rule stable and conveys the need for the subjects to pay their bali to the king. In the Rigveda 10.174, it is the poet's prayer to gods that the king may obtain sovereignty, that he may be supreme and that he may be free from rivals. Similar prayers are conveyed in the Atharva Veda also 3.3-5. The significance of these passages should be understood in the context of the conception of gods among the Vedic Aryans in those times. The technical terms indicating the concepts of spiritual and temporal powers are termed as Brahma and Kshatriya in Vedic literature. The Atharva Veda brackets them together as the two dominant forces in the social and political order. The Brahma and Kshatriya rather function as a dyad, as they are intertwined in each other. Vedic texts indicate the extraordinary potency of the spiritual and temporal powers, as well as their association with corresponding deities of the Vedic pantheon, and they may be taken as such to anticipate the celebrated doctrine of the two powers. The Samhitas of the Yajurveda and the Brahmanas not only develop the old Vedic principle of king's authority, but they also couple to the first time with the principle of king's obligation towards his subjects. They emphatically seek to base the authority of the king upon one of their fundamental doctrines, namely that of the omnipotent sacrifice. According to the Taittiriya Brahmana, whoever performs the Ashwamedha attains the fellowship with Prajapati and lives in the same world with him. This indicates the twofold basis of the temporal king's authority derived from his connection with the royal and the imperial sacrificial ceremonies. The king derives authority from the sacrifice through the intermediary of gods or else directly from the sacrifice. He acquires his divinity by virtue of participating in these rituals. He is the visible representative of Indra in twofold ways, as a Kshatriya and as the sacrificer. The central theme of Indian speculation is the relationship between Brahman legitimation and Kshatriya authority. The world is conceived as being at once profane and sacred. The social order and the ritual order are two manifestations of the same process. Knowledge is the comprehension of the complex system of classifications of which the world is composed. The sacrifice, which represents the correspondences between the sacred and the profane orders, attempts a ritual reproduction of the divine plan. In an elaborate cosmogony that developed, the political order came to be interpreted as analogous to the cosmos, its creation, a repetition of the divine creation of the cosmic system. In the effect, the political order is understood cosmologically, and the cosmic is apprehended in terms that are essentially political. The ritual provides a means of acting out and thus reducing strains and frustrations produced by the uncertainties and rationally inexplicable occurrences of life. And on the social level, it consolidates the values of community, reminding individuals of shared purposes and representing in simple dramatic form the essentials of social and religious relationships. Concrete acts acquire their meaning from norms and ritual representations, which in turn find justification in the general value commitments of society. The sacrifice is both act and an obligation. Gods have need of men just as men must ensure the cooperation or at least non-interference of supernatural forces. Ritual is understood as an elaboration of expressive and evaluative symbolism. The manifest purpose of the sacrifice is either to gain assistance of gods or to placate them. Its apparent function is essentially instrumental, but at least as important as the immediate gratification it provides and the possibilities for acting out psychological needs. The ideology of the sacrifice is as follows: man's attempt to influence the sacred or the profane, to prevent from harming or even devastating one another as a result of improper contact. The Vedic sacrifice grew increasingly complex as royal ambitions swelled and the priestly power entrenched itself. For sheer magnificence, nothing could equate the greatest of all sacrifices, the Ashwamedha or horse sacrifice. The release of a consecrated horse to pasture at will was regarded as an invitation to dispute the paramount authority of the king, whose power was represented by a band of young nobles accompanying the horse and accepting whatever challenge their invasion might produce. The horse selected to wander the world for a year was always a prime specimen, for he symbolized the warrior class and the generative masculine force, as well as Prajapati, whose fertilizing power had created the world. It was to Prajapati that the animal was offered at the end of the year. The Ashwamedha is a ritual, is an Ahina type of sacrifice, that is, a sacrifice which extends from 2 days to 12 days. It has 3 pressings, the 3 days during which the Soma is pressed. The origin of this sacrifice can be traced to the Rigveda. The Aitareya Brahmana and the Shatapatha Brahmana refer to this ancient and famous rite which kings alone perform to increase their realms. It is to be noted that the Aitareya Brahmana does not mention about Ashwamedha sacrifice but another rite called the Aindra Mahabhisheka. In these Brahmanas, a list of kings is enumerated who were consecrated to perform the sacrifice. According to Mahamahopadhyay Kane, Taittiriya Brahmana identifies the Ashwamedha with kingdom. The Shrauta Sutras also follow the line of the Samhitas and the Brahmana. The Ashwalayan Shrauta Sutra, agreeing with the Aitareya Brahmana about the Aindra Mahabhisheka, says that one who desires to secure all objects, to win all victories, and to attain all prosperity may perform Ashwamedha. The offerings of the Ashwamedha are spread out over 3 days, that is the Sutya days. The first is called the Agnishtoma. On the second day, that is the Ukthya day, domesticated animals were offered and non-domesticated animals were released. The third day is the Atiratra day. On this day, the horse is offered. According to Subhash Kak, the Ashwamedha rite has several functions. They are as follows. Firstly, it represents an equivalence of the nakshatra year to the heaven, implying that it is a rite that celebrates the rebirth of the sun. Secondly, it is symbolic of the conquest of time by the king in whose name the rite is performed. Thirdly, it is a celebration of social harmony achieved by the transcendence of the fundamental conflicts between the various services of power. The Shatapatha Brahmana refers to the different opinions regarding the color of the sacrificial horse. According to the opinion of Bhallaveya, the Brahmana says, the horse should be of 2 colors, black spotted. The reason given is that it was produced from the eye of Prajapati and the 2 colors is the color of the eyes, white and black. The horse must be all white with dark circular spots, or the front part of its body may be dark and the rest of the body white. It has a tuft of black or bluish hair. A king performing sacrifices keeps the gods' forces of nature and his subjects happy and contented. The Shatapatha Brahmana mentions about kings performing Ashwamedha differently in the form of gathas. This portion of the Shatapatha Brahmana is the concluding portion wherein it presents information of kings who have performed the Ashwamedha ritual with a variety of chants. It was Indrota Daivapa Shaunaka who performed this sacrifice for King Janamejaya, the son of Parikshit. By the performance of Ashwamedha, the sin of Brahmahatya has been warded off. This indicates that Ashwamedha was performed as an expiatory rite for which he used a spotted black horse. The type of the horse is as per the requirement mentioned in the Brahmana. This sacrifice was not performed for Janamejaya alone. It was performed along with his sons, namely Bhimasena, Shrutasena and Ugrasena. Atiratra is performed as one of the sacrifices in the Ashwamedha. The sacrifice was performed with Agnishtoma and Ukthi on the first 2 days, and then variants of Atiratra, namely Jyotish and Go. The reason behind the sin of Brahmahatya is not mentioned in the Shatapatha Brahmana, but the Shanti Parvan of the Mahabharata mentions about it. It says, one Gargya Brahman addressed Janamejaya in harsh language. Insulted by it, he killed the Brahmana. As a result, his body emitted foul smell, due to which he had to give up the kingdom and resort to the forest. Then Indrota Daivapa Shaunaka suggested him to perform the Ashwamedha sacrifice as an expiation, and the sage agreed to be the officiating priest in this ritual. This throws light on the expiation as a function of the Ashwamedha. The Shankhayan Shrauta Sutra records the Atiratra and the atonement of Brahmahatya for Janamejaya and his descendants, but does not reveal the reason behind it. With the first 2 days of Agnishtoma and Ukthya and the third day as Abhijit Atiratra, King Para-Atnara performed the Ashwamedha. Shatapatha Brahmana does not mention the intention of this king in performing the ritual. His intention is clarified in the Taittiriya Samhita, which notes that the king performed the Ashwamedha and begot a son. Here Ashwamedha became a fertility ritual with Agnishtoma and Ukthya performed in the first 2 days and Vishwajit Atiratra on the third day. Purukutsa of the Ikshvaku dynasty performed the Ashwamedha sacrifice. As per the pattern of this portion, the reason remains unmentioned. This king has been mentioned in the Dasharajnya hymn of the Rigveda, wherein he was the contemporary and rival of Sudas. In the war, he was either taken captive or was killed. His wife Purukutsani obtained a son through the sacrifice and named him Trasarasyu. Probably the Shatapatha Brahmana presents the different version of this legend. The Shatapatha Brahmana mentions of one king Marutta who performed the Ashwamedha with Agnishtoma and Ukthya on the first 2 days and Mahavrata on the third. The reference to this king is very much significant for he is a Ayogava king. Manusmriti refers to this Varna emerging from a Pratiloma kind of marriage. An Ayogava is a progeny of Vaishya woman and Shudra man, and carpentry is his profession. This particular portion comments on the upward mobility of Varna Vyavastha. When he performed the Ashwamedha, Maruts became the guardsman, Agni his chamberlain, and Vishvedevas as his counselors. The Shatapatha Brahmana does not refer to the reason why did the gods personally attend the sacrifice and assisted Marutta. In the Ramayana, Marutta occurs as a king performing the Maheshwara Satra, which was destroyed by Ravana as the king was unwilling to fight as per the requirement of the sacrifice. In the Mahabharata, the king is included in the list of kings who attained heaven because of performing sacrifices. The Ashwamedhika Parvan refers to the conflict between Marutta on one side and Bruhaspati and Indra on the other. Incidentally, the Gatha which occurs in the Aitareya Brahmana of King Marutta is recited as a concluding verse during puja in Maharashtra. It is Marutaha Pariveshtaro Maruttasya Avasan Grihe Avikshadasya Kama Prayer Vishve Devaha Sabhasadaiti. This is a connecting link between the present generation and the Vedas. The achievements of this king have been mentioned in the Markandeya Puran. Avikshit begot a son with the name Marutta because of the blessings of Maruts. He entered into a fluid with the Nagas as they used to destroy the sacrifices. All the gods attended and protected it. The next king is Kraivya, the king of Krivis, that is former Panchala, who seized the horse and performed the sacrifice with Agnishtoma and Ukthya on the first 2 days and Aptoryama on the third. Now, this is a different kind of a sacrifice wherein some other king had released the horse for the sacrifice. The horse wandered and reached Panchala region, which was seized successfully, in which Kraivya emerged victorious. As a mark of this victory, he performed the sacrifice. Dvasana Dvaitavana performed a more complex Ashwamedha wherein he released 14 steeds for Indra. This is the Ashwamedha wherein not just one horse but 14 were released. Bharat Daushyantihi performed the Ashwamedha and brought under his sway large areas of land which is called Bharata or Bharata. Another Gatha which is mentioned is that of Shakuntala and Apsaras who conceived Bharat, the son of Dushyanta. The greatness of Bharat is mentioned in the Aitareya Brahmana too. It is said that with Indra Mahabhisheka, Dirgha Tamas consecrated Bharata, the son of Dushyanta. Bharata then conquered everywhere all over the earth up to its ends and sacrificed those horses which were fit for being sacrificed. There are 5 gathas in the praise of this monarch. In a country named Mashnara, Bharat presented 107 herds of elephants which were fully decked up. Rishabha Yajnatura performed the Ashwamedha sacrifice and gave lot of wealth to the Brahmanas. Shona Satrasaha performed the Ashwamedha and obtained a number of horses. Indra enjoyed Soma in his sacrifice. Shatanika Satrajita performed the Govinata type of Ashwamedha after releasing the horse of Kashi. The Gatha further explains that since that time, Kashis do not maintain sacrificial fire. The present portion of the Shatapatha Brahmana comments on kingship and its relation with the sacred ritual. Religion thrives and flourishes when it is endorsed by political power. It needs to assist the ruler in translating political ambition into reality. The Ashwamedha serves the purpose of satiating the imperial tendencies of kings. In this process, it served multiple functions. At times, it solved socio-religious issues of the kings. It resolved the conflict of the king with the Brahmana Varna. Here we find the Ashwamedha serving the purpose of an expiatory ritual. A king need not be the initiator of the Ashwamedha. If he succeeds in obstructing the sacred horse of some other king, he may perform the Ashwamedha and offer the obstructed horse. As the sacrifice satisfied the imperial thirst of kings, it was the favorite ritual. Rajasuya is another sacrifice which was performed by kings, but such a list of kings performing the sacrifice and deriving fruit from it is absent in Brahmana literature. This list is attached to the Ashwamedha only, which indicates that this ritual was popular amidst kings and they would perform it with some variants. Apart from quenching the desire to extend boundaries and resolving conflict with the Brahmana Varna, the age-old function of the Ashwamedha as a sacrifice, as a fertility ritual has been retained in the text. Even in the Ramayana, Dasharatha, who was childless, performed Ashwamedha for progeny. Now let us take a look at the textual peculiarity of this passage. The exploits of the kings are encrypted in gathas. The Aitareya Brahmana differentiates between a ruch and gatha. It says that ruch is daiva, divine, and gatha is manusha, human. This indicates that gathas are songs in the profane tradition which were put to tune and sung by people as according to the etymology of the word, which is formed from gai, which means to sing. As per the subject matter, a religious status is granted to them. Gathas recited in the sacrificial context are known as yajna gathas. They were formed on the basis of the popularity of the gathas amongst people. In the words of Winternitz, it was a literary public property. S.S. Dange expresses the possibility that the preservation of this popular and secular folk tradition can be attributed to the Sutas, who were the singers. The role of Gatha is generally thus is similar to that of mantras as far as the aspect of giving firm basis to the ritual goes. It gave complementary stability to the ritual. The names of kings who performed different Ashwamedhas were popular in ancient India. Therefore, they found due place in the Shatapatha Brahmana in the Yajna Gathas. Their names passed from generation to generation. Along with the Gathas, the legends and exploits passed on and found place in post-Vedic literature, namely the epics and the Puranas. Dange SS expresses the possibility of the role of the Suta tradition in shaping the Gathas. This seems to be true, for the legends of these kings have been recorded in the epics and Puranas, which have been narrated by generations of Sutas. An intertextual study of the epics and the Mahapuranas, along with the Gatha portion of the Shatapatha Brahmana, will help in reconstructing oral history of kings in ancient India. Intertextuality in the present context is shaping the meaning of the text based on other texts. This was argued by a post-structural scholar, Julia Kristeva. In order to understand the meaning of a text references, allusions from other texts are essential. Here, the question of priority or posteriority of a text does not arise. The reader derives the meaning of the text not just from within the text but by referring to a body of multiple texts. By searching allusions of kings through the epics and the Puranas, one can decipher the achievements of these kings due to which their names were immortalized by tradition. Intertextuality is clearly mentioned in our tradition, as there is a saying, Itihasa Puranabhyam Vedam Samupabruhayet. Though this statement has been made in the light of Mahabharata, yet it can be applied to other texts too. In ancient India, regnum, that is regal power, upheld the sacrificial institution by performing number of sacrifices along with their variants. Sacrifice was associated with monarchical status and power through which the king exercised his political authority. The religious performances in the form of sacrifices strengthened and legitimized the political authority of a king. The textual tradition of the sacrificial institution immortalized the contribution of these ancient kings in the form of gathas, which indicates the popularity of Vedic sacrifice in ancient India. Thank you.
Scholars on the stage and in the auditorium, we have listened to a very spirited talk by Srimati Madhavi Narsale. She has very well illustrated the ancient maxim that the Veda has to be expounded on the basis of Itihasas and Puranas. We have the earliest commentary of the Vedas. We have the early commentary on the Vedas in the Brahmana texts and their spiritual significance in the Adhyatmika significance is brought out in the Aranyakas and the Upanishads. Taking one aspect of one sacrifice, namely Ashwamedha, as also Rajasuya, she has brought out a number of instances where the Ashwamedha was performed and accounted for in sufficient detail. She has relied on some of the best authorities, P.V. Kane, Subhash Kak, Sindhu Dange and Dange himself. And I must also mention that Ananda Kumar Swami himself wrote extensively on these things. In fact, myself and Meera, we gave a lecture on spiritual authority and temporal power in the Indian theory of government. So in the University of Hyderabad, in one seminar, it was devoted to Ananda Kumar Swami. And the same theme was dealt with there. And we spoke on how the matrimonial incantation, Amohamasmi Satvam, Samahamasmi Riktam, Devraham Prithvitvam, formed the basis of the entire structure of the performance of the sacrifices in the relationship between Brahma and Kshatra, the regnum and sacerdotium. So she has delivered a very authentic talk, bringing out the best of the details on the topic, and we are extremely thankful to her for her brilliant presentation. This will surely be included in our proceedings of the conference. Thank you very much, madam.